All right, I think we're on. Thank you so much for joining us, everyone, today. My name is Tess Connery. I'm the news and features editor at Little Black Book AUNZ. We are chatting the Gerety Awards today. We are joined by some of the lovely jurors. We're really lucky to have Isabel Kerr-Newell. She's the CEO of Artemis Communications. Edwina Nielsen, General Manager Marketing at Green Cross Health. Laura Sibulich, she's the founder and designer director at Run Aotearoa. And we just thought we'd have a little bit of a chat about some of the work that's been through these guys' desks, as what they thought of it, what they took away from it. There was a lot to get into, so I figured we would start just by jumping straight into it. I will go clockwise by who's on my screen. So if I could start with you, Isabel, could you tell me a little bit about a piece or two of work that really stood out to you and why it resonated?
Yeah, thank you so much, Tess. It's great to be here and chatting through this incredible award show. I think one of the key pieces that really stood out for me personally, and I think for all of us as jury members, was the terms and conditions of being a girl. And I guess it was one of those pieces that, days afterwards, it was still kind of sitting with me, and I was sort of pondering it. But I think, look, this is in a category or a territory, I guess, we've seen a huge amount of work in. It's a very well-trodden issue. But I think, and certainly from a lot of the work that we saw right across the Gerety Awards this year, it's clear that this still is a very potent issue. But this campaign approached uh, the inequity that women still face in 2026 in such a fresh but elegant and impactful way. And I think just the starting out by framing gender inequality as if it were a legally binding contract that all women unwittingly sign effectively when they're born into this world. Um, I think what really stood out for us, and this was something that we really looked closely at as a jury across all the work, was not just the brilliance and the beauty of the execution and the creativity of the idea, taking a symbol, a simple symbol like the asterisk and applying it in such an impactful way. But it was really about the scale of this idea, and it actually changed something. Literally, we saw, some of the most well-known monuments around Paris changed. The names of female scientists rewritten back into history around the Eiffel Tower. And I think, yeah, it was clear that society had engaged with that idea and had been changed because of it. Um, I think something that was really interesting that came up in the jury room around this idea was that we were very fortunate. One of our colleagues around the table, Jane Sweeney, had, I think, on her own admission, been let off for good behaviour and been had the privilege of being New Zealand's Trade Commissioner in Paris during her career. And while we all loved this idea and instinctively were drawn to it, Jane actually just, I guess, helped us understand just how, I guess, deep that idea goes into French society. So applying the asterisks across the words liberté, égalité, fraternité, words that are really ingrained in French culture and French identity, I guess it just also showed us that that idea, I guess, went to a far deeper level and was ingrained and enmeshed in society in a pretty incredible way. And then I think just all of us in the room who have made big, bold ideas just felt that just the permits alone, the logistics involved in getting that idea to happen were incredible as well. So from many aspects, the bravery, the simplicity, the beauty, the impact, this was a real standout.
Beautiful. Laura, you're next up on my screen.
Okay. Well, yeah, apologies. I've got a bit of a sore throat today, so a bit croaky. But a standout for me was bedtime donations, and that was for Royal Society for Blind Children. And they kind of worked on the inside of audiobooks are so important for blind children, and often less accessible than printed books and more costly. And so, and every parent knows, and I'm a parent, so you know how important it is to read to kids, and for them, and how important in their learning and development it is for them to just hear words and stories fed to them. And so they kind of tapped into all those insights. And yeah, almost like crowdsourced these audiobooks. Um, and yeah, they got, reached out to the public to get them to record themselves and donate the recordings of them reading these stories to a big database of audiobooks for the blind children. And yeah, it had this amazing library of all these books. It had great reach. They got through all of the ran out of public domain stories within the first week, and then authors started contacting them to get their stories up on it. They were the most popular app in the UK after 24 hours of launch, and yeah, and they did use AI, but it wasn't important to the idea. They just used it to check, to just work through this massive amount of content they were getting in. And I like that aspect of it too. And that it's going on to evolve, it can evolve to different languages, more stories. People are, there's groups that are writing stories specifically for it. And they want it to become the world's largest charitable audio story library, which is really cool. Yeah. And so it just, yeah, resonated with me as a parent and as a creative, turning this kind of nightly ritual into something valuable, tangible. I guess maybe not tangible, but and the way people could um, donate in a way that wasn't from a monetary perspective as well. Yeah, and as a jury room, that piece, that campaign was in our top 10 from the beginning and stayed there, which was really nice. I think it resonated with a lot of us. Yeah.
Beautiful. And Edwina.
Yeah, well, I suppose the one I'm going to speak about, and there were so many good ones, and the two that my fellow judges have spoken about this morning. I suppose now what I'm going to talk about probably trivializes some of that a little bit, but still fun. So the Kit Kat heist, which was a popular one in our jury room, really original in the creative execution. It was week before Easter. There was a theft of many tons, 12 tons, I think, of Kit Kat stolen, and kind of quite a serious commercial loss turned into a brand win. And they made that story into something even bigger, super clever, really created and amplified it across many channels, really got engagement and interaction, and really endured kind of behavior change, quite fun, kind of almost a PR stunt, but actually real. And the audience that Kit Kat were going to really became part of the story in the end. So it was about trying to find the missing Kit Kats that was stolen, and I don't even know if they ever found them, and I'm not sure if that was super important, but it really got engagement. And obviously we looked in the jury room often at, well, a big part of what we were looking at is actually how did it do, and it generated over 500,000, probably 600,000 engagements, and within 24 hours. And as a marketer and on a brand side and a company, we would all love that. And social media mentions over 500% within that 24 hours. So it was huge. It was real brilliant innovation, I thought, really engaging, I think, across ages, across genders. It's everyone loves chocolate. Everyone's chocolate at Easter, and all of a sudden we had a heist. So people really shared it. And I suppose as a marketer, could you ever buy that type of engagement? And I don't believe you actually could. And I think I'm in awe, and of all the ones that I've looked at over the last week, of just people's talent, agencies and people's creative minds and talents across very serious things that the two have spoken about. The small, Isabel and Laura have spoken about, already, right to the more fun one like this. But as I say, a serious commercial problem, you just lost a whole lot of product and no one wants to do that. Okay, quickly turned it into a PR stunt almost. So I think very clever. And kind of one part of the Gerety is that lasting impression, and definitely for me, this was a bit of a lasting impression, how clever it was. Very strong brand connection. Have a break.
You mentioned it, and I was following the headlines, and now that you say it, I also don't know if they ever found if they
No, I
ever
don't
got it.
know. It was interesting today in the office. Our head of econ said something. She said, "Oh, that Kit Kat one." It's like, well, yeah, there you go. Yep, the Kit Kat one. I'm not sure if they found the Kit Kats. I don't know. We're going to find out. But oh, how clever! Very clever, and very wouldn't have been months in the planning like many of our campaigns. It was quick. They moved fast.
So
Yeah.
take me into the jury room for you guys. When you're judging, how much weight do you give the execution versus the strength of the core idea? Or are they sort of on the same level?
Maybe Edwina, do you want to take the lead on that one?
Yeah, I think we all came. So much was similar on the 10 that we were getting to. I think we actually had more than 10 because there were so many good ones. But there were also some that were quite, people saw, like what would have been on my top 10, and hopefully during the session I'll speak to one of them, wasn't necessary on everybody else's. And I think one thing that became, which was really good, was in our jury room we had myself and one other who were brand side, and others were owned agencies, media agency, creative agency side. And I think our responsibilities or our day jobs as to what we do kind of can be different, and they are different. Sometimes tough being a brand owner or a brand guardian, making connections, different to an agency creating or placing or getting reach, etc. So I think those two things I found really interesting. I was quite inspired. I was very inspired by the jury room and the learning. You can, as a marketer, you think you know it all, but you don't. Listening to others in the room, it's like, yeah, how you can sit in your office and go through each of those entries and have a view, and how that view, when you speak to colleagues of, that have got really good intel, how it can change. So I think very powerful jury, very powerful experience to be part of.
What about you, Isabel?
Yeah, I guess we were just balancing, right, as well, the whole time of, core creative idea. We wanted something new and novel, right? We wanted something with scale, with impact, and I think, as Edwina has touched on, I think what was really unique about this jury experience was all the different perspectives that we brought to the work. Whether it was from media or PR, design, and I think also one of the most respectful and collaborative juries I've ever sat on, because we were also there to really learn and listen, and absorb others' perspectives as well. Yeah.
Beautiful. And Laura?
Yeah, I mean, as the others have said, it's that balance kind of between the execution versus the core idea. But I think you can't, you've got to have that core idea first and foremost. Yeah, and then originality in the idea, and then the execution amplifies it. Yeah, and but if you think about, thinking to one of the one of the kind of top 10 we all quite liked and stayed with us was a Dr. Pepper one. And we kind of argued like, is there an idea in this? I'm not going to sing the jingle, but it was a jingle that stays with you. I wouldn't do it justice. But a nice fun jingle that just, this person had put up on social media and the brand kind of took it and ran with it. And that was, I guess all in the execution, not so much in the idea. So yeah, they really do go hand in hand. Mm.
Beautiful. And we'll go back the other way. So I'll start with you, Laura. Were there any real trends that sort of you found emerging through the work, through this year's entries?
Yeah, I guess thinking about this, I think work that made you feel something, and perhaps that's because, comes with we judged the work for good category, which was really awesome. Loved that. Even personally, I really like that category, and moments category. So things that they'd kind of happened in the moment, like the Kit Kat heist happened, and then brave brands had gone and kind of run with it and did these great campaigns based on that moment. So whether it was emotional, making you feel emotional or sad or something, or through to laughter, like the jingle perhaps. And I did like that there wasn't a lot of AI coming through. I didn't notice that as a trend. And if it was to enhance the idea, like that bedtime donations one I mentioned. It wasn't core to the idea, but it did help enhance it. So things like that stood out to me. Mm.
Isabel?
I guess, and this is partly driven by the categories that we were judging, but obviously moments was one of the big ones we were looking at. And I think we were all just really struck by the sort of cultural competence of brands. So these ideas that, tap into moments and that are happening in the world, but then the bravery of brands to actually step in and not necessarily have to kind of control every aspect, but ride the wave and let the reins go. But I think ultimately those were the ideas that really shone through, and Laura and Edwina have already mentioned, Kit Kat Heist and Dr. Pepper as great examples of that. But it's really, I guess, those ideas that live in culture, that participate, that, join a conversation versus telling a message, enforcing a message, right? And I guess as we discussed as a jury, that also that bravery and the ability to do that kind of comes down to really clearly knowing your audience. So knowing, okay, this is go time, we can do this, and then having the strength to step back and let the audience take it on its journey. Yeah.
Edwina?
Yeah, well, everything that Isabel and Laura have said, I think definitely the bravery of the brands and the challenge of connecting your story, something that gets cut through back to your brand to make that connection so very strong, something unforgettable and lasting. I think that is tough as a brand guardian, if you like. Those moments are hard. You obviously do have to. There has to be a commercial reality plus a brand build and a brand equity side. One that, well, obviously the ones we've spoken about. There was another one, Whirlpool, and I think there's a really good example of a brand whiteware, so laundry, a washing machine or a dryer, and how they connected. And obviously they had a relationship, had connected a relationship with Alzheimer's Foundation, I think in Mexico, and they built a beautiful brand story on laundry powder and the laundry and the smell of the cardigan that became the connect between your loved one that was losing, not losing memory, and the connection back. And at the end, it was Whirlpool, and then the relationship with the foundation, the sponsorship. And I think at Green Cross we we obviously every single day you get requests for funding to help charities, and oh goodness, wouldn't we love to help all of them and participate? They're all so good. What we did, and to me, Paul maybe have done the same thing, is you connect with one brand, one charity, and do that well, and then how do you connect your brand with a charity? That's a challenge, and I think that example, I believe they connected it super strongly. And I think, so to answer the question, that just being brave, just actually being so clever to see connections to a brand that you own or love or have guardian of, and need to make sure there's commercial reality in there as well. That's tough, and it's not science, it's creative, and everyone will have an opinion on it. I guess it's learning and understanding how they land, and I think there was just really good, within that jury room, the knowledge, the experience, the wealth of their own experience, but also over time being on juries and understanding the strength within that jury room and the power in the jury room to make the decision to get top 10 in the end was actually quite easy because of the power of those people around that table. And you could leave there thinking, while they're all good, that all entries were good, these ones were really good, and you could stand by the reason. So I think that so to answer your question, I think it's really just how brave these brands are.
I love that. I'll stay with you, Edwina. I mean, craft is kind of the eternal conversation in this industry as well. I mean, Laura, you mentioned AI. It's only thrown it more into the forefront. For you, how important is craft in today's landscape?
I think craft / unique, something that really resonates and builds your brand to make the lasting impression, is what would be is successful. And I think none of this is cheap for any brand, whether you're a charity right through to a big brand, a McDonald's or a Dr. Pepper or whatever. I think each of those has to have a success factor of some sort or measure, and so I think the challenge, the toughness of this is just how do you make a brand? How do you connect your brand to tell a story, to be unforgettable and lasting? I think that's creative, and it's a craft, and it's a talent, and we have a lot of talented people, from what I've seen.
I don't think it's just you that's seen it, if that helps.
Yeah.
Laura?
I like to think that craft is really important. It's what elevates an idea from good to great. And it's the better you communicate an idea with the craft, the more it's going to resonate with your audience, and the better it's going to communicate, I think. And it's in all the details, whether it's design, those finer design elements, typography, or it might be like music or sound, that kind of thing. I think it all helps elevate and lift the idea so it really resonates with an audience.
And Isabel?
Yeah, look, absolutely critical. As Edwina and Laura have already touched on, craft is everything, but I think it's also importantly human craft. And I think, of course, AI plays a really important role in all of our work and will continue to do so. But it's that the human touch, I think, that it was still absolutely need, and we saw bearing through on all of the work that was in our top 10. Because I think it's the best work is what speaks to us as humans. And I think there was one final campaign that I think really touched us in this way as humans across borders, across divides, and that was the vehicle of hope. And again, turning the Pope Mobile into a mobile clinic. And I think that again, this was a beautifully executed, beautifully crafted idea, but we could see the humanity in this idea as well. And I think that was borne out in the impact of this idea, the truly global reach it had. I think 70 billion impressions worldwide. So yeah, clearly something that spoke to humans all around the world.
Beautiful. I'll stay with you, Isabel, as well. The last one I had for everyone. So this was an all-female jury, which is not sort of a very common space for people to walk into, I imagine. Tell me a bit about that and what the significance of a space like that is.
Yeah, look, it was an incredible experience. First of all, we were so honored to be able to bring the first Gerety Awards to New Zealand. That's the first physical jury in New Zealand. We were so honored as well to be able to bring our amazing shadow jury into the room. So, four incredible up and coming creative leaders in our industry. And it was a pretty incredible space. It was a powerful space. And I have been in many rooms where I've been the only woman around the table, whether that's been around a boardroom table or in a jury room as well. And I've never been daunted by that, but it was incredibly uplifting and enriching to be in that room surrounded by my colleagues. Also, I just think we all, as I've touched on already, just the different perspectives that we brought. We had clients in the room, we had PR practitioners, we had designers, we had filmmakers, and it was just a great, robust, of course, discussion, but incredibly respectful. And I think everyone in that room came away enriched by the perspectives that they had heard from their fellow leaders. Yeah.
Edwina?
Yeah, I've never, until this experience, I've probably never been one that do I feel, probably as Isabel said, do I feel inferior or different because in this room I'm the only woman, and I have been on meetings but on juries before that really hardly any woman. And I never ever thought, oh, that's I felt inferior or anything. Never thought negatively about it. However, having been part of this experience, I believe this was more powerful. I believe it was more real. It was very respectful and safe, and not at one point felt like, oh, I probably shouldn't say that. It didn't matter. Would that be different in a more male? Possibly. I mean, and maybe that's a reflection on, it doesn't need to be, never, as I say, never thought of it negatively, but I suppose what I took out of this is, well, how powerful that was. And great advocate. Pleased we weren't just judging it from a woman's perspective or just female pieces of work, but definitely that makes this unique. And wow, how powerful and fun and safe and real. So changed it. It didn't change my mind. It made me more aware and alert to the power of it. So yeah, it's good. And a well formatted, well selected jury, I think, really, as well said, real cross of different industries, but how much they can all work together. So yeah, very invigorating. And I think the shadow jury kept us real. They kept us grounded. They're a bit younger. Well, maybe speaking for myself, but we would at times, quite often, go back to them and get their perspective. And then I loved that. So, that was clever. Yeah, good for them as a mother of young adults, but also great for us as well to learn from them.
Beautiful. And Laura?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have too much to add. Isabel and Edwina have kind of covered it, but yeah, like them, I've been in jury rooms and sitting at the table where you're the only woman, and know how that feels. Not that I, yeah, even really think about it when it happens. Yeah, and yeah, and a great mix again, a lovely variety of all different industries within our industry. There's client side, there's media, there's design, there's COOs, like yeah, the whole mix which was really nice. And I think all industry leaders that just happen to be female, and obviously we're going to bring our own lens and our personality and all that personal background into it, lived experience. And so I think yes, we do, we bring that industry leading perspective in, but also the female perspective, which was really interesting. Yeah. But I did like the mix of work. It wasn't all just for a female audience too. It was, maybe some pieces were aimed at a younger male audience, and I loved seeing that mix. It was just like any other industry award, which was great to see as well.
Beautiful. Well, for all three of you, we really appreciate your work on the jury, and again for all your time this morning. Isabel, Laura, Edwina, thank you so much.